Next step is the wheels. These are very bad. Lots of real rust all along the outer edges and inside. The center caps are shot. This is an example of a center cap over here. Just completely shot. Get this out of here. And this used to be chrome. And it's pitted so badly. I don't know if that's savable. But what I'm doing is, and I'm going to walk you through this. This is just the first wheel. I'm hitting it with a drill. Just a regular electric drill. Cordless, I find, for these type of jobs isn't good because you need to use it for so long. The battery runs out. With one of these, going around like this, and one of these for the edges and corners and stuff. That gets the loose scale off. Then I go in with this sandpaper, which is very, very rough. I think it's around 30, 40 grit. Get all the rust loose out of there. You're not going to remove the rust. Just get the looseness out of there. And then I hit it with rust encapsulator, just with a little brush. You know, just touch on the rust, not the paint. This rust encapsulator doesn't work well on paint. Just the rust. And I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to sand it with lighter sandpaper, probably maybe a 220, and that'll be smooth enough. And once the 220 is done, clean it thoroughly and then spray it. I haven't decided on the paint I'm going to use. I could use engine paint, but I don't know if I have any white. I've got lots of white. I don't want to spend a lot on these wheels. But I think I've got some good white that I'm going to use. I'll show you once I get to that step. But right now I'm letting the rust encapsulator dry. It's going to take a while. It's super cold today. It's probably about 30, 33 degrees. So I can't paint it today, but I've got 4 wheels to prep, so there's plenty to keep me busy. Remember your safety glasses when you're doing this, because rust flies everywhere. I'm going to try to show you how this is done while holding the phone. It's hard with a one-handed job, but basically you just attack the rusty areas. Again, with 2 hands it's easy to do, but it's just attacking the rusty areas. You don't press hard, let the wheel do the work, and just pull the rust off. This is a different wheel that I was showing you earlier. This one's not as bad. Even though it looks terrible, it's not as bad as the other one was. So you get the idea. Once I'm finished with this one, then I'm going to move on to that one and then to the sandpaper and clean it up and see how it looks before I put the rust encapsulator paint on it. Back to the second wheel. It's cleaned up, getting ready for the application of the rust encapsulator. Again, I've sanded down, I think it's 30 or 40 grit sandpaper on the real bad rust. Hit it with the 2 wire wheels, cleaned it up. Now I'm going to put the rust encapsulator down. Interesting, when I started to get this wheel clean, it's got a double pinstripe on it, like a brown and a blue, or light tan and a blue. That makes me think these wagon wheels might be factory Ford, which would be super cool, and it would make sense. Given that this is a 78,000 mile truck, it would make sense that the wheels are the factory wheels. I'd love to be able to save the double pinstripe, but there's just no way. There's no way I can do it. These are just in too bad shape along the lip here, and it would really look like a different color when I sprayed it, so unfortunately that's got to go. This is wheel 3 from the left rear. It's not as bad, still plenty of rust, but it's not rusted through anywhere except around the lug nuts and the inner rim, and small spots like right there. Doesn't mean this one's going to be easy. It's still going to be a hassle, but it's certainly not as bad. One thing you have to do in all of these, if you're going to repaint the wheel, is take the wheel weights off. I don't really care that the wheel weights are coming off, because these tires are absolutely junk, and I'm going to get rid of them anyway, so the wheels need to be rebalanced. But all you do is you put a little pick like this in here, give it a few light taps with the hammer, and it'll pop right off. This one is the right rear. And this one's not in good shape. It's got rust through. It's got dots of rust everywhere. This one's kind of going to be a hassle. But it's the last one, which is good because I'm getting tired. This is not easy work. Fourth wheel cleaned up. I noticed on this one there is no double pinstripe, so I'm not sure why that one wheel had it and a couple of these others don't. I think only one had it. This one certainly doesn't. So I need to just do a last cleanup on this rim and then hit it with the rust encapsulator. The rust encapsulator is pretty simple to use. Pour some into a container that you're not going to reuse, and then just use your brush and brush it on. Now I'm using the original can here because it's practically empty, so if you don't do that, what it does is it preliminary dries the paint, the encapsulator in the can. So this stuff's expensive enough. You probably don't want to do that. I'm not obviously going to paint the whole wheel, just where the rust is, so I can encapsulate it. There are some areas that are going to be guaranteed to have rust in them that I didn't get all out, such as the inside of the rim here. The idea here is not for perfection in the smoothness of the finish, because I still have to do some prep on the finish. I've only done rough prep at this point, essentially with the wire wheels and 30 grit. So what I'm going to do after this is probably 150, maybe 80, and then I'll finish it up with 220. And that's all going to be by hand. I thought about trying to get the DA in here, but I'll probably ruin my pad if I do that. So I'm just going to do it by hand. As you can see, I'm just hitting it where there's rust and not hitting it where there isn't. Making care to do the edges here. Feels like a Bob Ross painting, but it's not. Just see here. And of course I'm going to do the outer bead here. I won't do that holding the phone, but you get the idea. You just want to encapsulate the rust that's there, because it's not going away. This is a wheel. It's hitting some water and dirt and all kinds of crap all the time. So anything that's rusted, the paint's not going to keep it sealed. It looks like, you know, I've got rust spots everywhere. I really don't. I'm being super particular. to make sure absolutely everything's covered. But my prep has taken a lot of the rust off, a lot. And I figure since I'm going to do a little more sanding on this wheel, if I get this encapsulator somewhere where there's no rust, it'll come off once I hit it with the sander. Okay, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. All I need to do now is this outer rim, which I'm going to need my right hand for. So that is next. All right, last one is encapsulated. Now I just have to wait for this to dry, hit it with the 80 and then the 220, and it should be ready for paint. All right, the wheels are ready for paint. I just did the 150 and then 220. Here's all the stuff that came off of there. It's quite a bit of stuff. But here's what the wheels look like. These are dirty. I haven't cleaned them yet. They still have a lot of sanding residue and stuff on them. But you can see the rust encapsulator has been sanded smooth and removed from where it didn't need to be. Like here, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, it's all still black because the rust encapsulator all stuck to it. Yet areas where it didn't, it came off. So next step is to prime and paint these. I'm going to look through my paint supply and see what I've got for white paint. These tires are junk, so I'm just going to leave them on and paint over them. The wheels are prepped and ready for paint, but it's a little bit cold today. Unfortunately, not quite as warm as I'd like. So I've rigged up this deal with this plastic sheeting. It's right in the sun, so it's going to heat out. The plastic sheeting will heat the wheels a bit. And I've got this heater, this electric heater in the middle. Yeah, it's not going to work great, but it should help maybe a degree or two, which is all I need. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I don't want to melt any plastic or anything, but we're going to see how this does, if I can warm the wheels up enough. And I think I will, because it's pretty sunny right now. I'm going to be able to prime and paint. All right, let's see how this is going. $97? No, that's not right. I wonder why that's not giving me a good reading. Let's try it right on the rubber. $110? No, not quite. I don't know why this isn't working here. But it's certainly warm. I can feel it. It's quite warm. It's certainly warm enough to paint. This little thing that I'm doing here is clearly working, and the sun is just so bright right now. Let's try it in the shade. Let's see what we get in the shade. $59. So in the shade, it's warm enough to paint. So in the sun, it's certainly warm enough to paint. So I'm going to wait a few more minutes to get started with the primer. Well, the priming went pretty well. It's certainly warm enough to paint. The primer dried really fast, so my fears were unfounded there. I do have a little issue here. Right there. I'm not sure what's going on with that cracking. There was some rust encapsulator there, and it may be having a reaction with the primer. Not much to do about it now. I'm not going to stop. Okay, so we got a couple of coats of white on. It looks really good. Super happy with it compared to where it was before to where it is now. I ended up using Rust-Oleum paint, white paint called Farm and Implements paint. I had a can lying around, so I figured I'd try it. And it worked great. One can did all 4 wheels. So pretty excited. Can't wait to get them fully dry and on the truck. It's plenty warm enough out here for them to dry. I'm going to leave them out for a couple of hours and then move them into the garage so that they can dry overnight. It's a little warmer in the garage than it is out here. So it's on the truck. I just thought I'd test fit it, see how it looked. The tires I need to get probably next weekend. So the tires kind of make it look a little crappy because they have paint all over them, but the tires are so bad that they're junk anyway. But what do you think? I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks real good. I think it looks real good on the truck. All right, this is the back driver's side. I think it looks real good. I got some $18 lug nuts, a whole set off of eBay. I got some center caps. I think they were 11 a piece off of Amazon. So I've got, 60, 70 for the paint, probably in total with tax and everything, about $75 into these wheels. I actually had the paint, so technically I didn't have to buy that, but it's about 10 bucks a can to buy it if I did. And the primer is about six bucks a can. So for around 75 bucks, I completely restored these wheels, and they're gonna look fantastic with the new tires. I don't think you can do better, and I wanted to keep the original wheels. So I've been able to do that. Small outlay of money, not too much work. I mean, sanding it, honestly, it's not fun. I'm sure you guys have all sanded stuff before and it's not fun, but I'm super happy with how this came out. And I'm almost done with this truck now. I got to get the tires, obviously. I have to put the new locks in the doors. I've got some new locks for it because I don't have the key for the door. And I've got to fix the vacuum leak at the base of the carb. And once that's done, I think this thing's going to be done. I'm certainly going to be driving it more once these things are taken care of. So I'm excited. This was a big milestone out of the way. These tires have made the truck look crappy for a long time, but not anymore. So hopefully this was helpful to you. No matter how bad the wheels look, you can usually save them. So enjoy, subscribe. There'll be more on this truck. I'm almost done with it, but there's a few more cool things. Enjoy.